question, you'll go ahead and raise your hands. We're going to go through it, okay? And here we go. And welcome everyone to Avini Vibes. We're very, very excited. Today is April. I have to look at my calendar. April 11th. Oh my goodness, how fast does time fly? Spring is in the air. My name is Christine Rolando, your host, co-host with Carol Witt up there. Carol couldn't do it without Carol. She's always in the house to help out, and she is recording. So we are recording. Remember, we're here to educate. We're here to share. We're here to ask questions and learn from one another, but remember, we don't make any medical claims, okay? Avini is an amazing company, and they offer amazing products, and we're here to, again, learn from one another and share. I want to make a couple announcements. I'm going to do just a little bit different tonight instead of jumping right into our guest. If you were on with us 2 weeks ago, we had an amazing man, but we had to cut him short because he was out the door and he had to go somewhere. So I asked Joe to come back tonight, and he's going to join us just in a minute. But I do want to give you a heads up because we have the summit in Las Vegas, which is in 2 weeks. So if you're registered, if you are a wholesale, we call them wholesale customers with Avini, you can come to the summit. Some of you, congratulations, you've met the challenge and you're getting lots of stuff paid for perhaps, but that's in 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll get to meet you there in person in Las Vegas. Also, we have a WhatsApp group. If you want to join, there's a women's group, mastermind group, which meets on Tuesday at 7:15. Put your name in the chat. Just ask how we can get you included in there. Put your phone number, your name. That's on Tuesday nights at 7:15. That's a women's. I guess men can come too, but it is a mastermind group. And I don't want to ever leave out these announcements because sometimes at the end we just move along. So I wanted to try to get them in early. We're very blessed. We had Doug Dickey here. That's why I wasn't here. Nika wasn't here last week. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, Marcy Littlejohn and Carol for hosting the call last week. We were so fortunate last week to have our very own Vice President Doug Dickey right here in New York. And wow, we had a standing room only, packed house. You just couldn't get enough of it. The good news is I hired a videographer, so it's almost edited and done. So you'll all get an opportunity to hear a brilliant mind speak. So Doug was here with us, and I'll share that also. It'll be in the shared spreadsheet that Rick Cotter does. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. But after Joe speaks, feel free if you want to share a testimonial, if you want to share some insight. We try to get you out of here by at least 7:15.
So we'll eight.
Oh, 8:15. That's right. No, I don't know. Hey, today, Joe, right? Today we had like a faux pas with the time elements.
Yep.
But we are happy, Joe, that you're here with us. Joseph Drushanik from San Mateo, California. Joe is not only a professional in the corporate world, has a long, long resume, but many of you might have ever been into a 7-Up. Put your hands up if you have. Into a 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven, you've been in one? Well, this is Mr. Big Gulp, we call him. So he's part of amazing genius. And Joe's going to be with us tonight. And Joe's been a manager. Long resume. But Joe, I just want you to come and share from your heart and tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us a lot about your story. Welcome, Joe. Thank you for joining us. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Christine. I really feel honored that you actually invited me back so quickly to chat again with the team out there and that's listening in. And some of you might have been on the last time, so you hear a little bit about my story. Some are new, so I'll just back up a little bit. I started off as a classically educated businessman. I have an MBA in marketing, and it was my goal when I graduated from graduate school to create a product or products that would be taken worldwide from what I thought of personally right up here for me. And the extraordinarily good news, I fell into a position that allowed me to do that. And the comments that Christine was making, yes, I was on the team that helped create the Big Gulp. The other things that I did create also the 7-Eleven day. So if you've ever taken your child on July 11th to get a free Slurpee, you can say thank you to the person who actually created that. And both of those obviously were taken worldwide. I also was involved with the creation of having a Pepsi and a Coke together, and a Diet Pepsi and a Diet Coke together. So you could go into a store and have your freedom of choice. That was taken into a national program called Freedom of Choice. Little half and half creamers that you put into your coffee, the International Delights. I worked on those also. And I had what I referred to as the dream job. It was exactly what I wanted to do. I had worked hard for it. I got into it. I was working many hours on these and rose through the ranks. And then we had a tragedy occur. The tragedy was the fact that 7-Eleven had to file bankruptcy. And it's so long ago that many people don't even remember it. But in 1992, 7-Eleven went through bankruptcy, but with the style and the professionalism that they did things, they did so that most people didn't even know that that happened. And 7-Eleven today is owned by a company called Ito Yokodo out of Japan. And what happened is 7-Eleven had area licensees. They gave it licensee to Japan, and the licensee actually bought the parent company when they were in financial trouble. And what that meant to me is, being an analyst and also being a marketing person, I realized that I needed to see where my future was going. I needed to determine would I fit into this new organization. And being very aware of how mergers happen, in most instances, the wisest thing for the buying company to do is to do a mind vacuum of all the people that were in it. And so consequently, I was offered significant promotions, but I had to move to Dallas, 7-Eleven's headquarters. But then I began to think it through, and I realized that does Japan 7-Eleven work the same way as California, as the United States 7-Eleven? And they don't. They don't advertise, they don't promote. So all the things that I was doing in creating products, my advertising budget, some of you were on earlier, I had a $7.5 million per year budget. This is in the late 80s, early 90s, a significant amount of money. And that was soon going to zero. So I made a decision that I needed to change into a different career. And it was a wise decision because all of my friends who were excited about the opportunity and didn't listen to me, they went to Dallas and they were fired within the next year, as the mind vacuum had taken all of their information and it was no longer needed because that was not the way they're going to operate. So I started to look around and see what was out there. And I had a friend of mine come to me and say, would you like to come to a business presentation? And it was, I'll mention the company because Rick has been very forward in mentioning the company. It was a division of the old Rexall drugstores. And in the 90s, it was still in the top 20 of all recognized names in the United States. So I went to this business meeting and I listened to the way that they were doing things, and I had never heard of it before. Never heard of it before. And why I want to keep that in the back of your mind is because I'm going to give you a bit of advice tying into that situation. My friend who invited me and just said, would you like to see a business presentation? And I just said, sure, I'm looking at everything. At that point in my life, I had never been pitched about a network marketing company. I didn't know that Amway existed. I didn't know that Herbalife existed. I had no knowledge of that. But I am confident that there were people that were around me that knew of them and were probably thinking, gosh, if Joe would become involved with me, would that be a great help for me? Would that preferably help me make money? And so why I share that with you, as you look at whom you might want to offer this business opportunity of Avini too, you got to recognize you have a chicken list. You have a list of people that you're saying to yourself, prejudging them to say they would never want to do what I'm doing. But you never know. You never know. And so very surprisingly, my friend ended up having a very successful business because when I saw the network marketing model, I was intrigued. I was absolutely intrigued because it was everything that I knew they were saying. Cut out the middleman, reduce the advertising budget, go direct to the consumer, let the person have the own opportunity to make a big business as big as they wanted it to be. And I'm going, that's brilliant. Because I do have a question to ask everyone on the call. How much residual do you think I make from the big gulp from the creamers, from Pepsi and Coke together? Anybody want to guess? Zero.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely zero. Why that's a poignant point for you and those of you who are considering this as an opportunity for yourself. Residuals are the key to life, and multiple streams of income are the key to life. So you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. When I started with 7-Eleven, I expected to retire from 7-Eleven because back when I first started in the late 70s, it was a situation that you get a good company, you work for the company for the rest of your life. And what happened starting in the late 80s and early 90s, companies began to turn over. And in fact, there was a book made that some of you might have read is Who Moved My Cheese? Because what happened is things changed. And so I looked at this and I said, this makes sense to me. And then I took a look at understanding the analytic of the company. And so I put it through the test. I put it through all the things that I would do if I was analyzing a company. And one of the things that I found out was the products were impeccable. The products were impeccable. And the good news for all of us, some of the things that Rick has brought back to us now are not on trial. Our Avini fiber is not on trial. There was a lesser quality 1992 developed product that sold billions of dollars. He shared that at many of our conventions.
Hey, Joe,
yes.
There's some new people, guests on the line. Can you just say talk a little bit about who Rick is, maybe for a moment?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah, because we have guests on the line that this is all brand new to.
All right. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Rick Deitch is a chemist, pharmaceutical scientist, and basically he's a rocket science of developing things. And so he was involved with the development of the products that I was with the company in the 90s. So I watched his pedigree through the years grow and grow. And what he's very astutely doing is he's going back and taking a look at a lot of the products that we know sold unequivocally phenomenal because they were helping people and bringing them back and bringing them up to 2024, 2023 standards. So when we hear about the Avini fiber, unbelievable product, totally unbelievable product. In the 90s, the original version that's not as good as the one that we have today, some of you might be a little bit older, you might remember a gentleman named C. Everett Koop. Does anybody remember who he is? Hands up. A couple of you put your hands up. He was the Surgeon General of the United States.
Oh, yes.
Okay, now remember him? He was one of my customers buying the product that Rick developed. You can't have more than a testament than the Surgeon General of the United States making an endorsement. The product that we have now for that originated with I'm drawing a mental blank. I got all the products out here except the one I'm talking about. Our low Oz product. Christine, help me. I'm drawing a mental blank.
Your what?
Packets. The packets for
hydration.
Hydration plus hydration. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. We sold thousands and millions of dollars of that particular product. Mm-hmm. And what he did is he made it better. And so it's not on test. He made it better. He's come up with the things. So, getting back to, why I'm here is because I knew those things when I did the analytic on whether or not I would want to join Avini. And so I knew the formulator. I knew of Neil. I knew of Mr. Dickey. And looking at that, I said to myself, okay, I already know, what it takes to put a company together. I know why companies can be successful. And I can also know why they failed. Because unfortunately, what happened to Rexall is they merged with another company, and the merger was like oil and water. And there was management changes and management complications. And consequently, they began to spiral in the downward mode, and the company ultimately went bankrupt. But some of the products still existed and came back out under another company, but not in the way they used to be. So my analytical part of what I was looking for was, does Avini put all those pieces together? And back in November 7th of 2022, I joined Avini. I say, unfortunately, I should have joined in July 11th instead of 11/7, or It would have been better, in fact, if we were working on a European standard of how we put dates. That would be an auspicious way of the date. So I knew these things. And so I worked with this company and worked with the people. And then knowing Neil made a statement that was just mind blowing to me. Uh, he said in one of our monthly updates, it's basically State of the Union, is this company has been debt free since day one that the company was created. I know what debt is. I was in a company that dealt with bankruptcy. Bankruptcy means we couldn't make enough money coming in to pay the bills out, let alone to be debt free. And we have that golden opportunity for someone who is in a position that they say, okay, do I need to do this full time? Do I need to do this part time? Which way? And then there are some who are on the line today that aren't really interested in doing the business as of yet. And that's fine. That's not something that, we're here to sell you on. I want to share with you what I did so that if anyone asks you questions, there might be an answer that you will get from my commentary as I'm speaking. And then afterwards, I'll take some questions to see if there's some specific things I could work with you on. But I can tell you unequivocally that the products are such that everybody in the United States should be on most of them. Period. Amen. Over. When you take a look at the other opportunity for business, moving back to that, I study network marketing. What happens in network marketing, and Neil has made comment to this a couple of times about going into momentum at the end of the year. What that means in network marketing is an understanding of the success factor of companies and the failure factor of companies. All companies start off slowly. They start off slowly and they start to slowly build. And usually most networking companies fail within the first 2 to 3 years because they're undercapitalized. They don't have the staff. They don't have the capacity to perform and pay to the distributors correctly. But those who go through that go through a period of formulation when they're in a position where they are getting all their pieces together, they're getting everything together. It usually takes 3 to 5 years to have that happen. But when all those pieces fit together, then the growth curve of the company goes like this. And then it ultimately levels off and goes flat when it becomes an institutional company, something like, for example, Amway or Herbalife, where it's been growing there. So following this, from a point of view of where we are as a company, we have gone through the initial stages. We're finalizing the formulation stages. And so at the end of this year, I fully agree with Neil that we'll be seeing a tremendous growth factor. Because there's a saying that some of you might have heard before, the fact that a rising tide lifts all ships. And that could be a rowboat or it could be the Queen Mary too. So what you need to look at is where you're at and how this applies to you. From the health point of view, unequivocal. Self-defender. Yes.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say that's a good segue into the products of Cell Defender. Yes. Your own story is so powerful. Your own health, your walk why you did this with your health.
Absolutely, Christine, and thank you for that. I'm looking at where we are time-wise, and I realized it was a segue. Perfect timing for helping me. I unfortunately, at 68 years old, had a problem. Up to that time, I was my high school body weight. I was still water skiing. Chip and I talk about water skiing. I was still barefoot water skiing at that point in time, not as well as he, but I was doing all of that. And I had a little bit of swelling in my legs. And I went into the doctor and they said, well, you're too healthy. And I said, well, yeah, but the legs are swelling. And they go, well, that happens when you get a little older. Basically, what ended up happening, I didn't get a diagnosis that I actually had kidney failure coming because of an autoimmune attack on my own body system, which ultimately ended up me being in and on dialysis. I can tell you that that's one of the most trying experiences that anyone can go through, but it keeps you alive. God bless me with a transplant. And so I have just one kidney. And so that one kidney is doing most of the work. But unlike most of you, I get a physical, so to speak, monthly. They have to look at all my blood numbers. They have to see, what's gone up, what's gone down, because the kidney is always precarious in terms of how long it's going to last and how well I treat it. The bottom line measurement for the kidney is it's a medical measurement called creatinine. And that is a measure of waste material in your blood system. Remember those blood physicals that you get once a year and you're always talking about, oh my God, I got to talk to my doctor. My doctor's going to tell me, what's happening. Is my cholesterol high? Is, that nervous anxiety? I get that monthly. Since taking Defender, I have dropped my reading by almost 20%. That's not a medical claim. That's a fact what happened to me. Because what it's doing is taking the toxicity out of my body, because a cleaner, healthier body works better. And so with the body being cleaner because of Cell Defender taking everything out, what then ends up happening is the kidney is able to function and do a better job of it. So I'm excited about that product, to say the very, very least. I've seen that success with gentlemen who have had, as gentlemen get into their late 60s and 70s, they begin to have PSA problems. And that usually means at least 2 or 3 bathroom breaks during the evening. I personally am down to 1.5 to 2 breaks. And in fact, several of the people I've introduced it have knocked it down from 4 breaks down to just the 2, like myself. These products are phenomenal, hard to believe. So in terms of a wrap up, so I can take some questions and answers today. Network marketing works. It works if all the pieces are there. We have all the pieces together. We have the company, we have the management, we have the product, we have the compensation plan, we have the timing. Yep. It is a recipe for success. And I have seen it happen. And I know what's going to happen with this particular company. Products, unquestionably. It's really where you are. It's really what you are. In terms of the leadership, Christine and every other leader on this call tonight is there because they feel the same things that I feel. And they know the same things that I feel. And they're experiencing it. And they want to share with you and have you share with others the same situation. 1, the products. They will help a person. Number 2, maybe that person needs to have some business help too. Maybe they're teetering because you don't know yet where they are in terms of, they're behind the scenes. Maybe things are not as well for them as it appears to be. But Christine, I promised that I would keep it a little bit shorter tonight on my story. Is there anything else that you would like me to highlight before I take questions and answers from folks?
Well, let's open it up if you'd like. We could ask if anybody has a question that they perhaps like to ask you, Joe. It doesn't sound like I know it, because I've gotten to know you just through some work that we've done together. The beautiful thing is that you're on the West Coast and we're here on the East Coast, and here you are. And one of the things that I love about this company, I was talking to Neil Roth today, our CEO, and saying how we can lock arms together. It doesn't matter if you're up in Boston like Hannah and a different group, doesn't matter. And that's the beauty of this. The leadership is amazing, but there's also so few people in the company yet. So we all have a job to do. So let's just go ahead and open up. If you have a question, raise your hand and you can ask. We have a product question. We have Dr. Chip with us here today, and he can answer those, or Joe. We got some good people here to answer some questions. Go ahead if you have a question. Bill Spence has a question or a comment. Yeah, testimonials as well. Welcome, Bill. Thanks for sharing the bottle.
You're very welcome. Well, I took Cell Defender, and within 45 minutes, my brain fog lifted. This is back in June of last year. My brain fog lifted. I had all this energy. I'm running around the house, and I called Carol Witt, and I said, "My God, what is in this? Are these like drugs or amphetamines or what?" And then I became a distributor the next morning. Got out of bed like, oh, I'm ready really to do this. Where I am stopped, and of course there's always the opportunity to have a breakthrough, breakdown, then breakthrough, is how did you expand your business? Did you contact, business people that you've known over the years and you shared and they were enrolled in the possibility of good health, great vitality? Like what actions did you take to become, shall we say, a successful distributor?
That's a very good question. Very good question. because I didn't mention it this time, but I replaced my executive income within 4 years of starting in network marketing. So that was a very successful run at it. And one of the things I learned, and this is something that is, I believe, key to growing a business, is first, you can never be a prophet in your own land. When I first started to present the business opportunity to people, their reaction was, "Of course you're successful, Joe, because you speak in front of people all the time. You're a professional businessman, and I can't do what you do." Well, yeah, you can, but they were comparing themselves to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I soon learned the lesson, and this is something that I share with all of you, is the benefit of a conference call or a three-way call to show that it's not you, it's the system and the team support that will allow them to be successful, makes so much sense. So when you're talking to someone, your goal is, especially when it's someone that close to you, is to get an outside party to validate the same wordings that you are doing. The other thing that I learned is that you always want to ask for referrals. You always want to ask for referrals, because then when you do get a referral, you then are the expert, because there's no preconceived notion of who you are. So when I started off my largest leg with Rexall, I went to one of the 7-Eleven franchisees. He was the top 7-Eleven franchisee. He had 5 stores. He was making over $250,000 a year, but I knew him personally. Would he be on people's chicken list that I just referred to? Yes, because he just knew a hair about Amway. He didn't even know what it was about. But I went to him and said, "Dick, I'm looking at different things. I'm now involved with a company that may or may not have an interest to you, but I believe that the products would be something that could be beneficial." And he goes, "Well, yeah, I'm always looking for my health. What's going on?" I said, "Well, I have a product that potentially could lower your cholesterol." And he said, "I got high cholesterol. I don't want to take any of those pills." So he started taking the original fiber product. And he had a great response, which I knew he would. And so I went back to him and I said, "Dick, is there anybody that you might offer to me as a potential referral to look at the product line? Because you were interested in one, but there's several different product lines." And he goes, "Yeah, I have this dentist that is always looking at things to help his patient." And I said, "Well, give me an introduction." So I went down to the dental office, and the only thing I knew about at the time going down to the dental office was I was scared to death, because as soon as I walk into one of those places, I smell dentistry and I smell the drills in my teeth. So that was the biggest issue. So I can speak in front of hundreds of people, but the fact I go into a dentist office, I shake like a leaf. So I met that gentleman and I talked about it, and we had a toothpaste product. And he goes, let me try a couple of them. You give me a sample. So I ended up giving him a couple of samples of the product. From that particular referral, I had hundreds of medical professionals, dentists and doctors, because they all talk to each other, dispensing product. And at some points in time, there were several of them that were dispensing, hundreds of tubes of this toothpaste out on a monthly basis. So working through people, getting back to finalize my answer, write down the list. Never make a prejudge. Never prejudge. Never say to yourself, "This person won't be interested. He's making too much money, or he's too healthy." You don't know where they are. And then always ask for a referral, because a referral then puts you in the position that you are the expert to that person who's the referral. And you actually have a halo around you, because the person who referred you to them would say, "Yes, this is my friend Joe. I wanted you to talk to him." That help?
Yeah, just
Thank
to
you.
just to just to fine tune it, because sometimes I have a difficult time in dealing with concepts. When you say referral, it would be those people of interest, maybe who might be interested in the product, or people who might, you would want to contact, from them. Is that correct?
Referral means that what once you have established a relationship with the person, it's anybody that might like anything that you might be doing, either product consumption and or business.
Thank you, Joe.
Anything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I want to just jump in here a minute. One thing I say about Avini, there's really smart people in Avini. We had the opportunity 2 days ago to have another doctor with lots of patients, and she's actually a scientist. And I was able to facilitate that call with one of our scientists, with Doug Dickey. And, I was able to listen to the two of them speak a language about proteins and viruses and all these, very, very highly educated scientific terms. When we had Doug here as well, he spoke at a level of science. There were a lot of lay people in there asking about issues that they were dealing with. It could have been like, I know one mom raised her hand, is this safe for children? So, there's all layers or levels of who we can share this with. So I think Joe's point is share it with who you know. Don't be afraid to hold back. And
Absolutely, don't be afraid.
You never know who's talking about. I took a Pilates class today, guys. It was pretty intense. It was a bar and Pilates class. I walked in at 10 o'clock and everyone in there was under 25 years old, and me. It was quite intense. But what I did right before I went in, I took my plus hydration. I knew I'd been, cleaning my body, cleansing my body with the cell defender, etc. And I walked in there and I wasn't going to be intimidated with all those 25-year-olds. I was going. And I kept up, and my energy level was way up. And like you said, Joe, Bill, you were cleaning the windows. You didn't know why your energy level, why you were feeling the way you were feeling. So thank you for that question, Joe. Thank you for your response. What about any other product questions here? Does anybody have a product question? Raise your hand, or a testimonial, perhaps. I know one or two. Eddie's got a testimonial or a question. Go ahead, Eddie, jump in.
Yeah, hey guys. Hey Joe. I know that you're pretty well versed with the plus fiber. Can you talk about that?
Sure, that's Chip may want to jump in also on that. It was interesting, I also laughingly say to people when I would begin my presentations, when we did the classical business presentation, is I spent my first 20-year career screwing up the health of the United States so I could have my second 20-year career fixing the health of the United States. Between selling selling big gulps, selling nachos, selling grease and potatoes and jerky. I mean, what more could I be doing? And in fact, I can't go to New York anymore because they know I created it. You didn't tell them, Christine, I know. But the what happens when you consume anything, and this is the layman's version of a very scientific product. The product goes into your stomach. When it goes into your stomach, there's a whole bunch of different things that start to basically help you digest it. And so when you would help the digestion process, you find out that cholesterol is part of the digestion process. And so people make cholesterol on the inside and they consume cholesterol on the outside. And so somebody who has high cholesterol, what ends up happening and how this product works, very simply, is that it comes in, if it's the outside cholesterol, what you do, if let's say you have a pepperoni pizza with plenty of cheese on it, the fiber product of Avini fiber absorbs that cholesterol that's in the cheese and the pepperoni. And the absorbing of it, and then it actually helps push it through, so to speak, and get rid of it. Also, the cholesterol that comes in from your liver, that then is also partially absorbed, and then some of that is pushed out. Why it helps diabetics, and again, Chip is probably going, Joe's kind of getting it, but I could give you the real T crossing, I dotting. When it's going through the pipes, so to speak, if you have it as a steady flow through the pipes, insulin doesn't have spiking to try to get into it because it slows the digestive emptying. So the product also does a second thing, which is if you had the capacity to have 4 bowls of oatmeal compressed into 1 or 1.5 scoops of Avini fiber, because you know how good oatmeal is, and you can get that amount of fiber into your system a lot easier. The average person in the United States consumes somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 grams of fiber. That's nowhere near where it should be for the digestion process. This particular product gives you additional fiber. Additional fiber is healthy, and there's reams of knowledge on that particular issue. So, interesting thing, and you always remember funny stories. If you consume a whole bunch of greasy things, do you need to sometimes visit the restroom? Not going to go too far but that was one of the most noticeable reactions of people using the fiber when it was consumed of bad stuff. That was one of the things that worked on so it doesn't affect as it used to be. So when I first started out, one of the big conversations we used to have in the meetings was, going to the bathroom, which people were happy about because of what I was doing, but they're unhappy about the process.
Very good.
Did I hit the top explanation, sort of?
You did. Yeah, you did. And the cool thing is it's got a coarser version of the zeolite in there too.
Exactly.
Stuff out. Yeah.
And that's the one of the many improvements that Rick has done. Because the original product was developed in the mid 1990s. So he's taken his knowledge of creating that product and updating it and made it better for us. We already know it works.
Yeah. Chip, do you want to jump in a minute on talk a little bit about the zeolite, perhaps? Just add to what Joe was just saying. Thank you, Joe.
Sure. I actually want to talk about Joe for just a second.
Yes.
So I'm at one of the Avini conferences and run into Joe, and he's interesting. He's an athlete. He's got a different perspective. He's there, and he's associated with Kyle Helm, and obviously, really a sharp person. And I began to get, interested and curious about him. And then we discovered that we were both water skiers and, on from there till this very moment. Think about one of the things that he said. He used to be nervous about going in every month to have his blood work done for fear of what it would reveal. And just cut to the bottom line of the whole thing. Isn't it more fun to go to the doctor when you know you're going to be showing off than you're worried? I mean, that's the bottom line right there.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's really what I heard. And that history going back to Rexall is big, and, his stature. To listen to how he postured in stature, and each of you could do the same thing. Of all the people in the stories tonight, guess who the most likely person to take off and become a huge success in Avini is? It's that mom. We had a scientist and a mom and Joe all talked about. Well, guess who's the most powerful? It's the women. It's the moms. It's the moms that wind up leading network marketing forward into the future. And you get a couple of guys like us that get to really enjoy being around it, and it's pretty special to us. Obviously, I mean, we literally fall in love with an opportunity, with the freedom that goes with it, all that stuff. But when you boil it all down, I really like that thought. It's so much more fun to go to the doctor when you know you're going to be showing off than when you're worried about what he's going to say.
Yeah.
And that's what I heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Yeah. So I'd like to actually share. I actually want to tell you, update you. I shared a while back. My brother, actually, he had the vaccine for COVID, and I'm not going to say which one, but anyway, 18 months later, he has been dealing with double vision, ringing in his ears, and the strength in his jaw to chew meat went away. And he lived with that for 18 months. And
wow.
I messaged him because I had the most amazing experience with Cell Defender. And I said, Dean, I don't know what this is going to do for you, but I want you to do this because I want you to live a full life that you love. And he's an avid golfer, professional golfer, and he had to quit everything in his life. He couldn't even drive because of the double vision. So it really impacted his life. And so my brother's very skeptical, but he said, yes, I will. And so he started taking it. And it was about probably 3 weeks into it. He said, Carol, I'm not going to tell you what's happening yet, but something is happening. I said, okay. And then about a month and a half, he calls me up and he said, okay, now I can tell you. He said, I'm about 90% back. He said, the ringing in my ears is gone. He said, I'm not having the double vision all the time now. I can start playing pickleball and golf again. And I'm being able to eat more normal. I said, oh, that's so amazing. Well, guys, I want to just really share with you now. He has a full life again, a full life.
Wonderful.
Amen.
Yeah. So that's why you want to share this with everybody because you don't know what it's going to do for them. And that's how I open the door to people. I don't know what this is going to do, but I just know it's going to do something for you. So please try this. And that's how I open the door for people to get them to share, to try these products is that I know it's going to do something good for you. I just don't know what it is. And and, you know, I love that I'm able to share these kind of testimonies because honestly, that's my brother who I love dearly. And I didn't want him living that kind of life for the rest of his life. And now he has a life that he loves again. So thank you, Rick, for Cell Defender. Thank you.
Thank you,
Amen.
Carol. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, she and I talked this week, and I heard the update on her. And a few months ago, or a month or so ago, we had Dr. Kim on, a chiropractor, retired chiropractor, came on and really broke my heart to hear the story. You know, my husband loves to golf. He's on the golf course all the time, but Dr. Kim shared how he lost his son, you know, as a professional golfer because perhaps of what the exposure, who knows what toxins, like some of us in the beginning of life may have said, oh, I'm not exposed to any toxins. You bet we are, right? So
Yep.
golf course looks beautiful, right? Pure green and everything else, but who knows how they keep it so beautiful. So yes, Carol, thank you. Joe, let's see what time it is. Oh, we only got a couple minutes and I know you got to get on another call tonight. So what do you want to leave us with, Joe? What do you want to
I
share
want
with us?
one quick one that popped into mind as you were speaking uh, is people go to their doctors and they don't approach their doctor correctly about these products or any products actually. So when you go to the doctor, if you say to the doctor, do you think this will help me? You know, if you bring in the particular Cell Defender and you say, you think this will help me, or you bring in the fiber and say, you think this would help me? They're going to say, no, I don't know anything about it. I wouldn't recommend you to try it. In general, there are a lot of enlightened doctors that will say, well, what is it? And go further. But the general tendency is that they don't know anything about it. They're going to have to look at it. And some of them will look at it, but their times that they're giving you is very, very short. So the correct way to approach any person in the medical field is, do you see any potential harm in me taking this product?
All right.
And that's how I worked it with my doctor when I brought this in because I have to have everything I do checked. I said, do you see any potential downside about me taking this particular product? And he said, no, it doesn't look like there's anything in there for you. Go ahead. I don't think it's going to potentially do anything. But he said, go ahead. And that's important because if you are on medications, and I'm on a whole slew of them, unfortunately, but I'm also alive today and I'm in great shape along with the blessings that we have from these particular products. But I got to make sure that they don't interact. And so he said, no problem. And then when the creatine level kept dropping, he goes, what are you doing that thing? And I said, yeah. You want to know more about it? And he goes, oh, I'm curious about it personally, but that's as far as I can go. But always check with your doctor and ask the question, do you see any problem with me trying this?
Mm-hmm.
Great advice. Great advice. Okay, Dave, do you have a question? I see your hand up.
See a hand up too.
Anybody else?
Unmute, Dave.
Dave, is that you? Oh, I saw you were
Oh,
just waving.
he does.
Oh, okay. Anyone else have a comment or question before we close out this wonderful call? I hate to run because it's always so much fun. Chip?
Well, before we leave,
Enika has a question.
Yes.
Actually, I just wanted to make a nice comment to Joe and thank you so much for coming on tonight. And you know, with all of your background and experience and the way that you approach and some of these key phrases that you made tonight, I'm like jotting down, trying to catch everything. I look forward to listening to the recording again because it's the words of wisdom that you share that, you know, us newer people joining this industry, it's really, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing tonight.
Well, I'm glad to help, and we have a mother load of help on this particular call. Christine has a wealth of background, and then Chip, of course, has a wealth of background. So we're a team. We all work together, and the teamwork is dream work, and consequently, we can all dream and be very, very happy because this is a dream.
Yeah.
Dear Joe, I also would like to say thank you because when we say to somebody, I would love to connect you with someone that can tell you more about it. And it's not that we're trying to pressure them into buy something. We just want to get all of their questions answered so that they can make a responsible decision for themselves.
Exactly.
And to get to know who, I mean, it can be it can be one, or it can be 3 calls or coming on here. We're not trying to pressure in any way. We just want to help them to answer any and all questions that they have. So thank you.
Thank you, Hannah.
Mm.
All right, Chip, I think Chip is ready to make a comment. Oh, Bill, you have a comment before we close?
Just real quick, Joe, are you available for coaching? Does it work for you to give out your cell phone number?
I would check with your direct sponsors, to make sure that I will help anyone. I just want to make sure that they know that I might be helping you. So check with them and say that you met me and wanted to talk with me. And
Carol is
flashing,
so I think
I'm
that's
his
a yes.
sponsor, Joe.
Okay.
It's absolutely fine.
Connecting you at the hip, Joe and Bill. There you go. Chip, we're going to close because I want to respect everyone's time. But Chip, I always appreciate when you can jump in here at the end. And thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah.
I usually do coach people not to give their phone number at a huge gathering because you can get overwhelmed and not have time to do your own business. But all of us, and this is how he comes to help all of us. This is how he comes to work with us. So I wanted to point out that we really do get to know each other well because of the nature of the things we work on together. I mean, it's not just frivolous, lighthearted things. We're literally coming to grips with the problems of humans. That's a big deal. Another point that I wanted to make just real quick, when Joe goes to his doc, and some of them will say, don't do it. Other ones will say, well, let me see how it does for you. And then when it does great, well, go on doing it. But to me, the ultimate question and the ultimate doctor is the one that says, I hate to say it, but in that particular arena, I have made a career out of losing patients. I would like to get the result I see that you're getting for all my patients. What is the difficult leap about that? But guess what? It's probably going to have to be you that does it, not them in most cases. It's probably going to have to be you that picks up. You're going to have to put your shoulder to the yoke, and you're going to have to pull this forward because it's not going to come from the other side. It's going to be you guys.
I'm going to have to sign off.
There he goes. Hi, Joe. He's got to go. Joe's got to go.
All right, Joe. Thank you for being with us. Joe, see you in Vegas. See you at the summit. Hey, before everybody goes,
look forward to meeting all you there. All right.
Thanks, Joe.
Just
Bye-bye.
a heads up, everyone, for next week. We are going to have another special guest next week, Roxana, all the way from Miami, and she's Peruvian and she's new, but she's brilliant, she's smart, she's got amazing story. So come next week, bring some guests, bring some of your friends, family, and join us next Thursday night, same time for Avini Vibes. God bless each and every
Bye,
one of you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a
See
wonderful
you
you.
night.
next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It's been
So long,
real.
everybody.
Now you can say bye.